everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with more news. I love the news. Everyone's waiting to go home for Christmas, but I've delayed the office because there's more news. And then we've got Friday as well, but some of the office is sneaking off a bit early. Anyway, let's crack on with all of the news. We're going to talk about WWE booking Saudi Arabia dates for next year. Controversial. Let's find out when they've planned to have shows for. Also, in other news, we're talking about the Young Bucks for a little bit as well, because they've denied that they're going to be part of the historic New Japan / Ring of Honor show at WrestleMania weekend next year. Also, finally as well, there's a special edition of 205 Live being aired next week on the network. We'll have all the details for that in just a moment. So, without any further ado, let's crack on with it and let's take a look at all of the Christmas festive holiday news. First and foremost, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting that WWE have already confirmed 2 dates for shows next year in Saudi Arabia. Just to recap, there were 2 this year and they were controversial to say the least. The first one was the Greatest Royal Rumble, which took place a few weeks after WrestleMania, maybe about a month after WrestleMania, and it was a strange show. A lot of people reported that it seemed more like a sort of tourism advert for Jeddah, the great city in Saudi Arabia where the event took place. It also was just a curious show. There were a lot of strange entrants in the Greatest Royal Rumble. Braun Strowman won, winning not only the Greatest Royal Rumble trophy, a comically oversized trophy, but also the Greatest Royal Rumble championship, which we've not really seen since at all. But the controversy of that event paled in comparison to Crown Jewel, which of course took place amid all the controversy regarding the Jamal Khashoggi global political scandal. Now, that raised a lot of sort of suggestions and rumours and reports that WWE would somehow sort of get out of their deal with Saudi Arabia and not return next year. But Meltzer is reporting that that is false and that 2 dates have already been scheduled. Yes, the 2019 WWE Saudi Arabia shows are reportedly going to be in May and November. No word yet on what they're going to be called, however. So it could be like the Greatest Survivor Series, the Greatest SummerSlam, even though it's in May or November, the Greatest King of the Ring. I don't know whether it'll be a themed one or whether it'll be like Crown Jewel, just a big show featuring Shane McMahon defending his Best in the World trophy. I don't know. It's going to be a strange one, and I imagine there's going to be quite a lot of kickoff about it in the weeks approaching those events, maybe even further back, maybe even in the months approaching those events. It's a tricky one because obviously WWE sort of have a moral obligation in one sense not to go back to Saudi Arabia given everything that kicked off this year. On the other hand, it's a business deal. I don't know how easy it is to get out of it. I'm not a business expert, and I imagine they're probably a little bit tempted by all of the money they'll be making from that deal. Not defending their decision, I'm just saying that's another way of looking at it. In other news, Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks has confirmed that he and his brother Nick will not be appearing at the New Japan / Ring of Honor mega show taking place in New York City over WrestleMania weekend. That show is set to take place in Madison Square Garden and on paper looks to be one of the most important and significant and biggest non-WWE events of 2019. Now, the Young Bucks obviously haven't re-signed with Ring of Honor amidst all this sort of rumour and speculation about All Elite Wrestling, this promotion that doesn't exist yet but trademarks have been filed for it, which I guess is going to be sort of backed by the people behind All In, the Young Bucks, Cody, Jericho's been linked to it as well. I think JR's name was mentioned too. So it certainly has a star-studded management team, I suppose you could say. But that has obviously led to a lot of regular Ring of Honor stars not re-signing with Ring of Honor, the Bucks among them. This seems to imply that also they'll be off from New Japan as well, another thing that had been heavily rumoured. They are going to appear on the Wrestle Kingdom card on January 4th, but after that could be their farewell appearance in New Japan, I suppose. Matt was replying to a fan on Twitter who said, "Oh, I've just realised this means that the Bucks won't be at that show," and Matt Jackson basically confirmed and said, "Yes, we won't be appearing," but he did stress that he still recommends that everybody goes along or watches if they can't attend in person, because he says it will be a massive night for pro wrestling. And finally, next week on the WWE Network, 205 Live won't be 205 Live, if that makes sense. They won't be airing a live show. They'll be airing a best of 2018 edition of 205, which is, I think, a good idea. Obviously, the show is taking place on Boxing Day when wrestlers will all be home for Christmas and everything. So I totally understand why this decision's been made. And as well, it'll be a nice opportunity to look back on what a brilliant year 205 Live have had. It's been a bit up and down, but I think some of those main events that they had have been absolutely brilliant, including, appearances by Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, the current champion Buddy Murphy. I think the Lucha House Party had a great 6-man at one point. It's just been a pretty strong year for 205 Live, and despite, quiet crowds or dwindling attendances following a SmackDown taping, I think they've still got enough about them to push on and even improve in 2019. So that's all the news for now. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't already, to hit subscribe and join us in a festive sense.